Hey, happy Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Or should I say, I made it to the end of the week. Maybe you didn't even know you were dealing with drama, and maybe you've just been coasting along. I, on the other hand, I've had drama. Not in a bad way. It's just a lot going on, and it's made me wonder, like, am I bringing this stuff on myself? Is this part of my fate? Is this my destiny? And I just wonder if you've ever had that experience where, I don't know, maybe you're feeling like the world is out to get you. Like you've been reciting mantras and repeating affirmations, and yet and still things aren't changing. I just wonder. Or you find that these same situations keep coming up as if, like, this is part of your destiny, like live and cray. Anyway, I know that may sound a little weird, but that's the kind of week I've been having because I've had so much on my plate, and, you know, it's self-inflicted wounds, I should say. So anyway, I just wonder about you. Like, are you tuned into the laws of the universe? Are you really feeling like you are the person who is at control of your life? Or is there stuff going on that's controlling you? I want to talk about this because my daughter just left today. She and her dad are going to Barcelona. What's up, Janet? So Sienna and her dad are off to Barcelona, and I have been like crazy all week working on my book, shooting all of these interviews, still trying to be fully present as a mom, you know, going out to dinners, going on excursions, and all that's well and great. I'm totally happy about it. But then I was realizing, wow, they're like deja vu moments where I'm like, this seems like the same kind of stuff replaying, some in a good way and some in a bad way. Well, let me give you one example. What's up, Andrea Osborne, and what's up, Nino? Good to have you here. So here's an example that I just will admit. Okay, so I believe wholeheartedly that we can create, manifest, like bring into existence the dreams in our head and the passion in our heart. We can manifest in this lifetime. And the laws of the universe, the law of attraction is just one of many laws in the universe, dictate that we are meant to be at cause, meaning we are the ones causing our lives. So the effects that you see in your life, are they there because you consciously created them or unconsciously created them? Really think about this. What's up, Ingrid, Faida, Sarah Kate? Nice to have you all here. The reason I'm asking is I remember having this feeling like, I don't know, it felt like my fate or my destiny was that I would not have children. So this was when I was 34 years old and I was single. And I was, you know, rocking it in the career world. My business was thriving. You've heard the story probably. If you haven't, check out the TED Talk. But life was going pretty fast and furious. I had a lot going on. And I just figured, I was having a conversation with this friend of mine, and it was like, well, I don't know. We both, you know, getting to a certain age. We're both single. Must not be that we're going to have any kids, right? So what's up, Leila? Hello, Casey. Bienvenue. So it was interesting because we both sat down and said, oh, well, I guess we won't have kids this lifetime. Are you okay with that? Am I okay with that? We were both okay with that. And shortly thereafter, I went on a trip here to the French Riviera, and I had that out-of-body experience. What's up, London? And in that out-of-body experience, which you may have heard me talk about a number of times because it totally changed my life. Thank you for putting the TED Talk there, Sarah Kate. But don't watch it now. Stay here. Stay tuned. It was crazy because in that out-of-body experience, I had a vision. I saw a vision of me in the future, living on the French Riviera. At the time, I had a big business in Silver Spring, Maryland, right, near the DC border. I saw in this vision, though, I was also healing with my hands. And I remember saying, oh, thanks, God, you're turning me into a totally woo-woo doctor. But also in the vision, I was walking hand in hand with a child along the Croisette, the boulevard in Cannes, right in front of the sea. And the part about living in France, I was like, cool, I've always wanted to. This is a nice little vision. But I was like, really? How? I was getting to a certain age. I was thinking, how am I going to have some child when I'm like completely single? So in that you've heard me say, I have a child, and she just went to Barcelona with her dad, it was striking me this week because when we were in Cannes, I was realizing, oh my gosh, almost the exact same scene was recreated where I was walking hand in hand with my daughter. And now that they're going back to Barcelona, Barcelona was where I actually met her dad, although it was not physically in Barcelona. Like, we were introduced and our first email exchange happened there. And it was one of those things that I thought, wow, this wasn't a vision that I consciously manifested. Like, it wasn't like I sat down and I said, okay, God, I want to meet a man, I want to have a baby, I want to move. This was a vision that came to me when I had that out-of-body experience. And it's made me really think about it just because of this week. And I'm really tuned in and wondering about destiny and fate. What's up, Dr. Nyack? Like, what I want to know is, are we destined to become what we're going to become? Or can we change it? So the other thing that's impacting on my brain right now is I'm working on this book, right? My newest book, Not Time to Rise, where I'm having all these fabulous authors, including Dr. Janet Anthony and Sarah Kate Brandis and many others, but working on my own book called I Love You Me, which is based on this 5-step framework that I've been teaching around the world, which is what led me out of depression and anxiety and into this bold, out loud life where I'm fully living my truth. So as I was working on the book, I was in this section talking about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So how many of you have studied, or you remember from high school or university class in psychology, Abraham Maslow was this psychologist who said that we humans have these desires or needs that will prompt us to go get those needs met. And when we look at the top of what became the pyramid, Maslow didn't actually create it as a pyramid. He just described it as a hierarchy. That we start off with these basic physiologic needs. Like, we have this need for, shelter and like warmth and food and, procreation, water, clean air. Like, we need those basic needs for our physiology. And then we move up, and then we need to feel secure and safe. Then we need to feel like we belong. And if you think about it, our ancestors, yeah, we totally had this need to belong. Because if you didn't belong to a tribe, you could get eaten, by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever, or you'd freeze to death. So we survived in tribes, we needed each other. And that ingrained kind of programming in our DNA is still active. So we have these needs. And then eventually we have this need to feel love and esteem and feel like we're competent to do something in the world. And then it gets a little higher and we feel like we really want recognition, right? We want this sense of fame. But Abraham Maslow said that as we progress along these this hierarchy of our needs, we will eventually get to what he called self-actualization. Self-actualization. And so the way he described self-actualization is, there is something that we are born to do, and we won't feel totally fulfilled until we do that thing. A writer must write. A painter must paint if they are to feel that life is worth living, right? So that's how he described self-actualization. And I was doing this interview with the beautiful Helen Rebello, the author of The Magical Unfolding. And it's funny because she remembers as a young person, she always had this desire to be a writer. But her parents were like, no, you need to go get a degree, do something meaningful, la, 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 la. I'm sure many of you have had something similar happen. Hey, Camilla. And hello, Mesmin. So yes, we have this urge, this tendency where we finally feel like we have to do what we were born to do. And it's funny because in this interview with Helen Rebello, she tells us a story about how, like me, she was like, okay, I got to make my family happy, look good. So she went down that path into medical science, just like I did. And then here we are, many, many, many years later, many careers later, many frustrations later. And here she is coming out with this book. And people are like totally like embracing it and supporting it. Not just me, but like she did this Publishizer campaign, this crowdfunded campaign, and it's been like going cray. Maybe Sarah Kate will post the Publishizer link, publishizer.com. Terrible name for a website. Publishizer.com/the-magical-unfolding. And what she's finding is that as she is doing what she feels like she's always wanted to do, she's in her zone, she's in that state of flow. Yes, we have the ego going on in its little craziness about being fearful of what are people going to think, but when you finally get to that point of self-actualization, where you are living your true self, you feel a sense of peace, and you also feel that you've reached this point of no return. It's like, I don't care what society says, this is just it. I have got to do me. So what about you? Have you felt this urging, tingling, pushing, nudging? Like Abraham Maslow said, it's a natural tendency. We will be naturally pulled, pushed, drawn, sucked into finally becoming actualized. So that's what you really need to think of is, who am I really meant to be? Is it my fate? Is it my destiny? And let's see, who was it? Andrea Osborne said the question is, did my vision impact my creation, or was it already in my consciousness which created the vision? I don't know. I think that's up for debate. But that vision that I had in France back in 2005, I had, as I said, I had just basically envisioned a life without children and was just kind of married to my career. So it wasn't in my waking consciousness at all, but it was eventually shown to me in that vision. And it's one of those things that I wasn't really against it, but in another conversation that I had with the beautiful Yvette Taylor from the Energy Alignment Method, we were talking about in this interview these 3 flows of energy. And, when we are in flow, when you are truly self-actualized, in the zone, doing your thing, what you feel like you came here to do, it's effortless. You feel like there's no resistance in you. You lose sense of time. You lose that sense of self. You just become one with the task, and you feel that sense of bliss. Now I'm a kind of bliss junkie. That's where I want to live. I want to live in that state of flow, like all the time. But as Yvette was explaining, there are 2 other states of our energy. And one of them is resistance and one is reversal. So obviously there was nothing in me that resisted But then again, I was completely in surrender mode. Well, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The bottom line is I was in complete, I don't know, like just acceptance of being in sort of communion with the divine, if that sounds weird. I just recognized at that point that there were so many things influencing my life and some things that seemed to be pushing me in one direction that I realized, all right, am I co-creating or am I the sole creator, or are there influences coming at me, that fate or that destiny or that karma that are pushing? So I wonder, what's your take on this? Synchronicity, says Yvette, or you could call it synchro-destiny. What's up, Candice Marie? And so being in resistance is pretty obvious. It's when that person says, oh, I know I want a man. But inside she's thinking, wait, if I got a man, that means I got to clean up after him and it's going to limit my freedom. Like we could have any number of things blocking us, whether consciously, unconsciously, or past experience. And then Shimoni asked, what about the reversal? And the reversal is when your energy is completely going in a different direction. Hope I'm getting that right. Little Miss Yvette. You'll see her interview where she describes it much, much better. But this idea that you want to go in one direction and your energy is going in the complete opposite direction. So you're just like not gonna manifest what you think you're trying to manifest. Like you think, this is what I want, and your energy is going in a complete different direction. So for me, I in those moments, I wasn't thinking about marriage. I didn't want marriage, didn't want a kid, didn't want all of that. And yeah, so that's where I was. But that vision ended up coming true. So here I am. I live in the south of France and got the kid, got a lovely life. Yes, I'm healing with my hands like the woo-woo doctor that I am now. And I'm in complete acceptance. But since this book is really about self-acceptance and the journey that it took for me, it really was that moment just before turning age 35 that I came face to face with the darkest period of my life. And when I say I was in surrender mode, I did not want life to go on like that. I was like, okay, you take it, take over, because I'm like not happy here. And I think being in a mode of surrender allows something else to kick in. And so my question for you is, what is that something else in your way of thinking? Is that divine? Is it fate, destiny? Is it your higher self that can step in and say, oh, finally, we get to run the show? Because as I was talking to Taz Thornton, who will also be joining us in London for Speak from the Heart, the authentic speaker training, I did this interview with Taz Thornton, and she's the author of Unleash Your Awesome. Gotta get this book. Oh my gosh. Talk about a storyteller. This woman, she brings her stories to life. But in one of our interviews, she was talking about the sovereign self. That's the self that's above all else, above even the soul with all of its karma and drama. It's that part of us that really is ready to take the helm, as opposed to the ego, which is all like, I don't know, am I good enough? Or what's everybody else doing? And that brings up this point that, speaking of point, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a lot of people think it stopped at self-actualization, but it didn't. He recognized that once we become actualized, once we finally figure out what we're here to do and we're doing it, self-transcendence is possible. And he said it was a drive. So the same drive that we feel that, says, oh, I'm thirsty, let me get something to drink, a little cup of tea. That same drive that tells us we need food, we need shelter, we need a mate, we want to feel that sense of belonging or a feeling of significance and success. Once we pass self-actualization, we can get to this point of self-transcendence. And that is when the higher self, or whatever you want to call it up there, sovereign self, it's when it can really step in and supersede the ego, the soul, and anything that's tied to like this earth plane of existence with its drama and whatnot. Am I getting too crazy on y'all on a Friday? So, Marika Harris, it's good to have you here. A spirit came over her this morning telling her you must get married to your career. Woo! Now, married to a career. I like being committed to a career for a while because I'm a novelty seeker. I can't be tied in too long. But that fear of rejection, it's time to get past that, my friend. Because what would life be like if you could be free of any compulsion, where you're not feeling compelled to be married and attached to that career, nor are you fearing what anyone might do on this earth plane, like the fear of rejection. It's all this stuff has been like rattling around in my mind because working on this book right now is, I mean, it's all consuming. And the challenge has been trying to put into language that hasn't been said 5 bazillion times, how do we get to this point of no fear, of no self-judgment? How would life look if we could truly be in a place of unconditional self-acceptance? And then from that place, could we forgive the people who did us wrong? Forgive ourselves for all the stuff we've done to ourselves? Could we get to that place where we can just kind of clear the space and then co-create or manifest this new version of life? Because that's what happened for me. Now, it was a very mystical experience. And I said in that TED Talk, when I came out of that vision, that veil, that darkness, that depression that I lived with for nearly 2 decades was gone. Now, as a physician, I have tried everything and had been through antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds and psychotherapy and regular therapy and shamanic retreats, traveling the world, immersing myself in all these other cultures, trying to look for my own healing. And it was instant. Like after coming out of that vision, that being totally melted into the oneness, I was free. Now, for me, it was freedom because I knew who I really was, and I knew how I got programmed and why all of that suppressing my true self, my true nature, that suppression is what led to my depression. So having that lifted off of me, it was like, boom. What's possible? Anything. And that's exactly what I started to do. I started to be like, well, dang, if I could have anything, let's start manifesting. So Shamoni says, sovereign self, love that term, reminds you, in the hero's journey, it states that we're all born of royalty when we're born. Yes, original greatness, whatever you want to call it, your Buddha nature. We were talking about this, I don't remember when, I talk about it a lot. But yes, we were all born at our most pure state. We are perfect, whole, complete, deserving of all the love in the world, all of the riches in the world. And it's only that programming and that drama and karma and trauma that makes us think that we're not. But what if you could erase all of that? Like, for people who believe that their past dictates and determines what they are worth, you've either got to get to a point where you so forgive yourself for the crap you did in the past, or you're going to keep suffering. It's like you have this choice. Like, don't let the past completely limit you and block you so that you can be free to create a future. Because if you're holding all of that drama and that trauma, and it gets, let's be honest, every physician will tell you, maybe not every, most tuned in physicians, even doctors and surgeons will tell you that when you have a traumatic experience, it gets locked in to the memory of your cells, your muscles, your brain. And unless you can let go of that, you're always going to be creating a future based on that experience. So we've got to learn how to erase the trauma, the drama, and the karma of the past. Past now or past lives. And talking with Yvette Taylor in this interview, and Yvette, I can't wait to do the next round because we only scratched the surface. You know, this idea that I've seen people who you would think that they had a target on their head that just said, hit me, attack me, abuse me. Like people who have seen that through multiple times in their lives, they seem to be under attack. And it's not always that they're out there doing something reckless or inviting the drama. But it's almost as if, like, what is this? Is it fate? Is it destiny? Is it karma? What pattern are they living into? What energy and information are they putting out to the world that they just seem to attract all of these experiences? Well, because life is a cyclical experience, just like each year we go through the 4 seasons, we go through the 12 months. In your life, you will go through these cycles. Some of them in short cycles, some of them in 7-year cycles, some of them longer. And the reality is, if you don't clear these lessons, they're going to keep coming up. It's like if you didn't learn that lesson in kindergarten, you're going to get it again in primary school, and then in middle school, and then in high school and university and beyond. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. My book is not yet in French, Casey-san. I'm very sorry. We're working on it. The problem is, as my friend Derry Llewellyn Davies got on to me today, the challenge for me is I tend to finish one project and want to move on to the next, on to the next. I am, on to the next. So I have not pursued any of the offers to get my book in French or very many other languages because I'm like always on to the next. Because I'm just a creator. It's who I am. But this idea about being able to accept our nature and what is true for us, erasing the past, getting clear from that drama and karma so that we can have a clean slate. Like, do y'all think that's possible? Or have you ever known anyone who was in that state where they just seemed to, no matter what, they couldn't get over something and you could see that it was impacting their present and their future? Like, for real, for real. Is anybody else out there like that? Or, am I just the only one? Do I attract all the crazies? The crazy, hurt, broken people. It's just one of those things that I toy with in my mind because I wonder, not many people are out there learning the laws of the universe. We don't learn that stuff in school, right? Like, who really teaches you? It's funny, we were sitting at the dinner table last night, and Sienna was doing what she hates to do, and that is answering the question, how was your day at school? So her dad and I were asking, what happened, in the afternoon in school, what were you guys talking about? And she was describing something about science class and how the teacher was talking about the flow of air, jet streams and all this kind of stuff. And it's just one of those interesting times when you wonder, okay, you're learning about the laws on planet Earth. Who's really teaching about the laws of the universe? Like, for real, for real. When I was talking to Yvette yesterday, we were talking about the training that I did with Steve Richards from Holographic Kinetics. So to answer your question, Anthony, about there's a loop, I don't know what loop you're talking about. We're talking about the cyclical existence of life. We go through these cycles. And it can seem like a loop because until you have kind of finished a chapter or put an issue to bed and cleared it, it's going to keep setting up another cycle of time for you to experience it or learn that lesson. I don't remember the Pema Chodron quote about, things will keep showing up until we've learned the lesson. She's the Buddhist nun. Love, love, love her work. So I'm just curious to hear from you guys on this lovely Friday, going deep. I'm just taking a little break. I'm not going to stay with you long, but because I really do need to finish this book. I need to get it off my plate. My editor is on a tight schedule because we have 6 books we are publishing between now and Christmas, and mine is just one of them. So my editor is like, okay, you cannot miss a deadline. The video was stuck at Little Miss Yvette. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. We got to talk about that, Yvette. Why was the loop stuck on Little Miss Yvette? So I have to finish this book. I want to get it out, mainly because Dr. Janet Anthony was kicking me. It's funny because many people who saw the TED Talk who asked me, okay, I got it. We need to learn who we are. We need to love who we are. How do we do that exactly? And because I had built this curriculum at the University of Monaco where I was teaching the exact same applied positive psychology, I threw in a little bit of mindfulness and meditation. But I've been teaching this for years on stages and in my wellness center. But you, Dr. Janet, you were like, can you send me the curriculum? Can you send me the book? Let me have it. And she was able to ask me straight up. People who saw the TED Talk who were sending in emails and text messages, I would just be like, so sorry, it's not done. I'll keep posting other stuff. But Janet, you guys can thank Janet for this book coming out. Hopefully it will be done on my birthday, November 9th, so that it will be my gift to you and my gift to me to get it done. But anyway, so yes, Janet, you're saying you're praying today that this was the end of a chapter of a cyclic process that you've endured for years. Absolutely, honey. Amen to that. I will second that. And so it is. But it's this mindfulness. It's this ability to become aware of the patterns that we're living into. And I'm always struck by people who can point the finger of blame at everyone else that's caused their drama or caused their pain of their problem, from society to religion to their parents to the economy. You could really blame pretty much everyone else for everything. But if you start to look at a pattern in your life and you realize, wow, what's the one common denominator? Me. Then you kind of get to this point where you're like, I've got to investigate me. What is driving me to do what I'm doing? What is driving me to create these situations? Or if you want to talk about it as this big manifesting thing, maybe the universe is. If you believe we live in maybe either neutral or a benevolent universe, some of my quantum physics people would tell you, it's not a benevolent universe that believes in just love, love, love. The universe is really neutral. If you're going to put out negative, you're going to get back negative. You put out positive, it doesn't mean you're going to be exempt from the negative, but you will get back positive. So if we live in a neutral universe or we live in a benevolent universe, then it's just a matter of cause and effect. Take away the judgment. If you are not learning a lesson, the game of life is pretty much pushing you towards knowing who you really are. That's this self-actualization. But not the little self, not the ego, the personality that's been molded and shaped and formed on this earth plane. We are meant to transcend that and make contact with our sovereign self, higher self, our true self, authentic self, God self, whatever you want to call it, your Buddha nature that says, you know what? You can create whatever it is you want. And now, rather than being reactionary, looking at everyone out there, why don't we originate thought from within? And my bias is, if you really want to feel good, because most people do want to feel good in life or feel fulfilled or happy or optimistic or enthusiastic about life, then you really got to figure out what makes you tick. Like, what drives you and motivates you? What are your values? Because when you start to live in alignment with your values and you create from that space, having done all the work on the forgiveness and clearing out an energetic space, as we woo-woo manifestors talk about, yeah, you know how we do. I have to give a shout out to good old Missy Crutchfield. You know, I was thinking about her and how we can create an atmosphere, right? Thank you, Celestine. I'm glad that my Friday rant is working for you. It's like, you know, Om Shanti Gaya, Namah Shivaya. Anyway, I digress. But this idea that we can be the ones consciously choosing, it also brings up this conversation I had with Steiner Ditlevson. I don't know if you guys saw that on my page. He did a special interview with me yesterday. Thank you to Steiner. So generous. But I had talked about him on another Facebook Live when I was describing the experience I had in Alicante, Spain. Because many of us kind of stumble through life and we end up in a place where we're like, oh, this place feels really good. Or we get to some place and we're like, ooh, I can feel some negative vibes. Let me get out of here. And most of that is unconscious. Like, most people are not conscious of how they vomit their emotional drama into a space. Yvette was talking about it yesterday. Like, you can walk into a room and you can like, ooh, you can just feel, okay, ice cold tension in here, right? Well, what Steiner created is an atmosphere of love and unconditional acceptance and sharing and openness. And I know that sounds like, I don't know, how does that sound to you? How does that sound to you? When you hear me say that I went to an event where someone consciously, deliberately created an atmosphere of openness, loving, compassionate, sharing, unconditional acceptance. Like, can you even fathom that? Like, I guess the only place that I can say I've consciously felt that is when I walk into a temple or, you know, some holy place where you can tell there's just like an energetic presence. You're just like, you know, and that could be psychological. You know, we might have our own programs about holy places, but I didn't have any program in my head about Alicante, Spain. I'd never been there. I met Steiner off of a friend of a friend, Jesper Bergstrom from Denmark, and we were just connected. So to fly into Alicante with my daughter and to hear him on stage talk about the weekend and the intention that he created that for us, it was like, oh, okay, the words sound nice. We're gonna have a weekend of sharing and love, and we're not selling anything, we're just here. I'm like, okay. But I sat there in the audience, like curious, like soaking it up, taking it in. But then something shifted, and I literally felt it in my presence. And he was talking about in that video, you can look it up here on my Facebook page or on my public profile, personal profile. He mentioned that when I got on stage and started sharing, it was apparently amazing. I don't know. I was in my own little zone for most of it, except for when I got all self-conscious. But it was one of those things that I realized, wow, there is so much power in our ability to be conscious of our own energy, to take our thoughts and intentions and literally affect the space around us, to create a space of love and compassion. And I guess many of you who are therapists or coaches, you probably do this naturally. Most people come to me and they say, I don't know why, but everybody seems to call me when there's a problem. People just seem to come and tell me their problems, or people just come and they're like, woo! They'll like unload like the most sensitive information. Why is that? Right? And so if you've heard that, it's because you're sending out a vibe from your brain, from your heart, that's turning on these mirror neurons in them, that's allowing them to lower their guard and feel safe with you. And if you could do that consciously, not just on a one-to-one, but imagine doing that for a whole audience, that was powerful. So for anyone who's coming to Speak from the Heart, the authentic speaker training that I'm doing in London, October 27th through the 29th, Steiner yesterday has just promised everyone who's coming, he's going to do a special 2-hour training on how to create that atmosphere in a room, in a space. I'm like, woo, that is a huge, huge gift. So I'm super excited. And I don't know, maybe if Sarah Kate's still here, she can put the link to Speak from the Heart, because we have a few more VIP seats. I think there's 3 more VIP tickets available. And we are doing buy one, get one half off. So if you want to come, see me, see, let's see, Dr. Jill, are you coming? I see that you're here. Helen Rebello, Yvette Taylor, Gita Vinter, Helena Phillipson, Derek Llewellyn-Davies, Taz Thornton. We are all going to be there in London, in central London, October 27th through the 29th, doing this special speaker training. And yes, Jill Stalker, the juicy hormone doctor, is flying in from Hollywood. And Steiner is going to give us this training. Solveig is also coming, the beautiful Solveig Þórarinsdóttir from Iceland. She's coming. It's gonna be awesome sauce. Yeah. So anyway, so buy one, get one, 50% off. Anyone who wants to be there, yes. Shimoni says, suppression equals depression. Absolutely. Have a fabulous weekend, Shimoni. Thank you for being here. It's so true. I mean, when we are suppressing our truth, our authentic self, you know, we can try to get in to fit in for a short period of time. But over time, there is this part of you that is going to erupt and get upset, and it will wreak havoc in your body or your mind. Someone else who's going to be here with us in London, who will share, I think, part of her story, is the dentist, Leslie van Oostenbroek. Okay, she's Dutch. I have to work on how to pronounce her name. But she's going to talk about the things that she's seen that will blow your mind, about when we suppress our real feelings, when we don't have a clue about the energy and how it's impacting us. It can impact our health in so many ways. And Anthony talking about the experiments on water. Abso-friggin-lutely. Here's the awesome sauce, the event tickets. So I should show you, it's kind of hidden. But Anthony, you're so right. Like, we have the power to influence things. And Dr. Emoto was this Japanese doctor who did these studies on water and projecting kind thoughts or energy or positivity onto water and then freezing it. These ice crystals would either come out looking like these beautiful, magical, snowflakey crystals, or if people had projected negative thoughts, or it was just water coming from like a muddy pond, it would look jagged. They wouldn't be these perfectly whole crystals. And I was going to show you something that my daughter did. We have been treating our water. Okay, I'm going to show you how woo-woo I am, and then I'm going to get off. Then I'm going to get off the mic. My mic sounds nice. Check one. One of the things that we do is we use this little baby right here to filter our water, because even though it's beautiful in the south of France, the water. So we filter the water, but of course, if you have a really powerful water filter, it's going to take out all the good stuff as well as the bad. So we filter the water, and then we pour it into colored bottles. And you can see I have a few of them on display here, and a few more in the cupboard. And each of the bottles we generally do corresponds to a chakra, an energy center. And we put it outside in the sun for about an hour. And when we first got this system, we started projecting love into the water, or positivity, or joy. So in addition to the effects that you feel based on the chakra, so the green is the heart chakra, so for anyone who needs to open up their heart. We had blue for the throat, which I don't have any problems with communication, so the blue bottle is not out. We have, orange for that hara, as the beautiful Yvette was talking about yesterday. You know, that will, that motivation, the solar plexus. Red, the root chakra, to help you feel grounded, safe, secure, and all of that. But my daughter would also write these little messages, and we started doing it with plants. Anyway, I can't find it right now, but she wrote these little messages on the planters so that the plants would have positive vibes. She would send them positive vibes so that they would grow nicely. Isn't that nice? So yeah, we can consciously change the structure of water crystals. And when you think about it, our bodies, our brains, 70, maybe closer to 80% water. So if we, through our energy and intention, you know, the energy, the information, the vibration can impact water, don't we need to be mindful of the energy that we're holding in and or projecting outward? Like, I'm just saying, you want to change your life, get conscious, baby, wake up. So it goes to everything from the thoughts that we think, the mental chatter that we allow to go on. In this chapter that I'm working on right now, I talk about putting people on a negativity fast. You know, when you're fasting, you give up something, well, give up negativity for the next 30 days. And anytime you hear yourself inside your own head saying something negative to yourself, you check yourself, and you either have to put money in a little jar, or you have to start over. You can pick your own sort of incentive, you know, based on whether you're attracted to pleasure or you want to avoid pain. But it's nice if you have something at stake, because then you actually will care and do something about it. But it's amazing that we aren't really conscious of how our energy affects everything. So look out for the interview that I did with Yvette Taylor. It'll be out in a couple of weeks. So my friends, it has been a fabulous Friday mixing it up with you. I want to remind you that I am live streaming on the radio and online every single day, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. Yes, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. So check in at 12 o'clock Eastern, or 6 o'clock here in France. That's 4 o'clock for my peeps up in Iceland, 5 o'clock in the UK, and 9 a.m. for you beautiful Californians. So every single day you can hear me live doing some of these interviews. Sometimes I go on my own personal rant. Maybe Sarah Kate, if you're still around, put in the link. But it's basically at americaoutloud.com. You can find several of my shows that I've either been on other people's shows or my own. And you can tune in and get some inspiration on the daily basis. Download it, listen to it on the go, and be inspired. Ding! And if you want to talk about how you might be able to host your own show, I would love to chat with you about that, because we are in the mode of expansion over at America Out Loud, looking for some new hosts. So if you would like to host your own radio show, if you feel like maybe getting your brand and your message out to the world would be useful, then talk to me about that. You can send an email to drandrea@americaoutloud.com. So I wish you a fabulous weekend. I don't know what you're going to get into. I'm going to be in edit mode on this book. I am going to get it done. That's accountability, baby. Putting a schedule out there and then making it public. Now, I'll check in with you guys on Monday. I pray that I am indeed successful at getting it out of my head and heart and into a Pages document so I can send it to the editor. Have a fabulous weekend. Know that I am just sending you love and positive vibes here from the south of France. And if you're inclined to come and see us in London for the Speak from the Heart workshop, we'd love to have you there. Click on the link, buy one, get one half off. And Janet, I'm glad to see that you are editing your chapter for the book Time to Rise. We are going to have some amazing contributing authors. So if you're a writer, if you have a story that you might like to contribute that explains how you've gone through your own trials, tribulations, and challenges, and you have garnered the strength and the resources to rise up, then I want to hear about it. And I'll post the link, or maybe Sarah Kate will. I'll post a link for Time to Rise and how you can learn more about that ongoing book project, because that is going to be out in December. Yes, the Time to Rise book is going to be published and out and available just in time for the holidays, the holy days, when we all need a little bit of inspiration. So I'm super excited to be working with these amazing authors who are really going deep and sharing from their heart, bringing their stories to life and to light so that they can help transform more people on this beautiful planet. So, without any more delay, I'm going to get back to work. Mwah! Much love to you all. I wish you a fabulous weekend. Bye.